you. And the Torah, when discussing the travels of Yaakov Avinu, the greatest tzaddik of his time, it says that when he went to sleep, he looked for a place to rest his head. The pasuk says, "Vayikach me'avnei hamakom vayasam el eshotav." He took stones to rest his head. But when he woke up, it says, "Vayashkem Yaakov baboker vayikach et ha'even asher sam el eshotav." He took one stone from under his head. So as she asked, how could that work? How could it be that he slept on various rocks and woke up on one rock? She gives a beautiful explanation that the little rocks were fighting. And fighting, they all wanted to have the Sadiq's head lie on them. They were all fighting L'Shem Shamayim, so that's why the miracle happened. Grandpa, us too. Hashem will make that miracle for you. MashaAllah, between your children, grandchildren, and great-grandchildren, there are 60 little rocks fighting. And we can become the one rock that Grandma was. Through all her selflessness, Grandma taught us how to build a Jewish home. What a home she had. Not only to her family, but to the entire community. As great as our community is, it really is great. How many homes can boast to have had 7 or 8 Brit Milas in the house? A Pidyon Haben, a few Bar Mitzvahs, numerous engagement parties. She even had a wedding reception in the house. Yes, she so graciously hosted her sister and Susie's wedding reception in her home. For so many years, she had the whole family on Shabbats, both at night and in the afternoon. It was only that when the family got so big and we just couldn't physically fit in the house anymore that she stopped. And let me remind you, as mentioned, she worked 5 days a week. You would never know it by coming to her house on Shabbat. She never liked when we used the word hate in the house, or out of the house for that reason. I hate this food, or I hate that song, or God forbid I hate this person. She said, you may not care for somebody, you may not be in favor of something, you may not prefer something, but we don't hate anything, and we don't hate anyone. She said this is what her parents taught her. This is how she preached people to speak in her house. I'm so happy to say that her ways of hospitality and her Jewish home is being emulated by her own children. My mother, God bless her, also opens her home all the time for her family and friends. Whenever we sit down, we do not start eating until the host or hostess is present and sitting at the table. That is what my mother taught us, my mother would say. She learned that from Grandma. Whenever you want something that is not on the table, you never ask the host. It's embarrassing. For example, if you want ketchup, you don't ask for it. It may not be there in the kitchen. That is what she learned from Grandma Nina. Even the way we sit at the table, and if we act a little silly amongst our own family, we would say, Ma, don't worry, nobody's here, it's just us. She said, Grandma Nina always said, what you do at your own table, you're going to do out in public. Again, only one of the lessons she learned from Grandma Nina. I could say the same about my Aunt Rochelle. I see the same in her home. Only a few weeks ago, she called me up through all the craziness and asked me to come if I wanted a lift to go to the airport in Las Vegas. She happened to be going also. When I went to her house, I saw all the commotion. She practically runs a hotel. Again, these are traits that her own children learned from Grandma Nina. The reason I'm talking about her children, of course I mentioned my uncles and their wives, God bless them as well, my Aunt Simone and Aunt Betty, and of course my father and my Uncle Joey Safi, all her children. We are comforted by knowing that her memories still live on. Her legacy is still a part of our family, in all of our homes, and God willing, in many more homes to come. To sum it up perfectly, the day that she passed away, I get a phone call only a couple of hours later from a friend of mine. He told me, Joe, I know it might be too soon, but I couldn't help myself. I had to call you. I'm very sorry to hear about your grandmother. I had to call you, and let me tell you why. Your grandmother, when you introduced me to her a few years ago, just in passing, she always said hello to me. She always smiled every time she saw me. Every time I deal with this is him talking to me. Every time I deal with personal problems, whether in business or personal, and I have some issues, every time I walk in the Imperial House and I see her sitting there and she smiles, I know, just by looking at her smile, that everything is going to be okay. That's what she meant to me. And this is what this person told me. He goes, I couldn't wait. I had to tell you. That is what she meant to me. And that is what she means to all of us. In conclusion, I'd like to quote from one of the most famous works of Shlomo HaMelech. the work of Eshet Chayil. It starts off, Eshet Chayil Yimsach, V'rachok Miknei Yifrach. Who can find a woman of valor? She's more precious than pearls. I'm happy to say that we were blessed to have Grandma Nina in our lives. She was more beautiful than the most precious stone. To fast forward to the end, it finishes by saying, Tenu lami biyadeha, v'haluha b'hasharim ma'aseha. Give her the fruits of her hands, and let her be praised in the gates of her own deeds. Grandma's fruits, her home, her children, her family, her friends, everybody that knew her, and everybody that she affected, those are her fruits. And just her fruits are the greatest praise that she can have. Grandma, we love you, and we will miss you.